everyone to our fourth meetup, our first one of the year. This one we're actually, after our fourth one, we didn't want things to get stale, so we're going to try, this time, we're trying to do lightning round presentations. So everyone, we'll see, but in theory these should be maybe 10 minutes. But now I think we have a range from 5 to 20 minutes, so we'll see how it goes. Everyone says they're going to have short presentations, so typically we have typically we have 3 speakers. We try to get out here at 8. Today we're going to cram in 5. So we'll see how it goes. I guess first I want to thank. My name's Ryan, and I started this this WordPress Stockholm Meetup group, I guess, a year and a half ago now. And I can't believe there's already 750 people as part of the group. That's pretty cool. So these are kind of hard to get into, so congratulations on being the few that got in. I guess to give a better introduction to where we are now, I'll turn it over quickly to Lynn, who's the host and sponsoring tonight's event from Branson.
Yeah. Me and all my colleagues are really hungry, eating further. I just want to take the opportunity to welcome all of you to our cozy little office, and I'm glad you find the entrance. It's not that easy. Branson.
Oh!
Sorry.
Oh, here we go. And I work with this guy. So if you don't know who this is Drupal. And Drupal is a CMS like WordPress is. So they're kind of competitors. But I like Drupal and I like WordPress as well. So I work at a web agency that is called Happiness. And we're about 12 developers today in central Stockholm. And we build pretty big and complex Drupal websites. Websites like Skandiamäklarna, Swedish ICT, Sverige, Swedish Academy, Grand Hotel, there's a bunch of them. So if you're interested, you can go check out our portfolio, it's really nice. And so what is a Drupal developer doing here? So I still have a very big heart for WordPress, especially for the community here in Sweden. So if you have seen my name popped up before, it's probably because of WordPress Sverige. So I try to do a lot of development there, and to stay active in the community. Facebook group for WordPress Sverige. I don't have Facebook, so but so if you didn't know, we recently launched our big 4.0 website. It's really beautiful. We integrated some BuddyPress and some other sweet tools to make it really look like a community web platform. So if you haven't checked it out, go ahead and do so, because it's awesome to learn about WordPress more and get your answers. So, so I just want to put in a sorry in here, because I'm not going to be talking specifically about WordPress tonight. And I'm also going to be talking, it's going to be more of a developer talk. But I'm going to try to keep it very basic for you. So if you have any questions, just let me know. Alright, so we're going to be talking about CSS here for the next 15 minutes. So I have a question. How many in here write CSS or have done CSS? Alright, great. Some of you. So CSS is awesome, but I took a look at the Meetup page that we have, and it's really good looking. So, it's good organized, and you have a lot of shortcuts and everywhere. But if you break this down into like sections, it's kind of complicated, and if you would do this in like CSS or whatever, you have to think about a lot of stuff. So before you start doing CSS, it's very important to go in with a strategy and to be organized, otherwise it ends up being very hard to actually do something. So if you have been working with CSS before, you probably have seen these style sheets. These style sheets are probably more like 5,000 lines of code, and if you load the style sheet up in your editor, it almost crashes because there's too much to load. And these CSS files are pretty unmaintainable. You usually end up like overriding rules in the end of the style sheet, so they're not very good. But this was a long time ago, and superheroes came to the rescue and created something called CSS preprocessors. So how many in here uses a CSS preprocessor? Right, good. Some of you. And yeah, they're great, and it's really made us be more organized in CSS, and it's actually been more fun playing around with it. I mean, more and more CSS architectures came along with it, stuff like BEM, Atomic, and so on. So I use Sass. I've been using Sass for years, and I think a lot of you guys are using Sass as well, who's using a preprocessor. So yeah, Sass is great, but I've noticed a lot of problems with it. The first thing being that it was created in Ruby. Now when Sass became like a thing for people to use, it was very slow. Like a lot of people, that was the main problem with Sass being slow. So they created more Sass clients like Node Sass and Lib Sass. And that's great, you know, Sass became faster and faster. But the main problem with this is that when Ruby Sass has a bunch of like futures to release, they'll have to wait for Node Sass and Lib Sass to pick those up before they can make the official release, so no one falls behind. And also, if any one of these has problems or whatever, yeah, funny tweet from Dave Rubin saying having Gulp Sass issues today, which means them having Node Sass issues and so on. So that's a big thing in Sass. Also, version controlling Sass is a big thing because it comes with Ruby, and you have to keep Ruby control, version control, in the gem Sass and so on. So it's a big deal. And also, there are a lot of frameworks with Sass, and a lot of these frameworks are getting slightly more updated and less frequently. And I mean, like, if you've done Sass, you've probably heard of Compass, and that's a way, like, it's been dropped out. A lot of people are not using it anymore. So yeah, and modularity is not a thing anymore. So I took a look at the libsass repo, which is and there's a lot of files in that repo. There's like 110 files and a lot of code. So it's very hard to contribute to Sass if you want to do that, which is kind of a big deal. So you know, what's next? A lot of people are still using Sass, and you know, what's the next big thing? So I'm going to be talking about PostCSS today, which is the next big thing according to me. So a little background about PostCSS. It's created by Evil Martians and a guy named Audrey Sitnik. He's Russian, and he's also the founder of Autoprefix, I think. So I've been working with Audrey for the last month, and he's great. He's a really great guy. On the left, you'll see the PostCSS logotype. So yeah, so this is how everyone describes PostCSS, right? PostCSS is just a tool for transforming CSS with JavaScript plugins. Now, before I head into what PostCSS actually does, I want to kind of tell how it works. So a little behind the scenes, right? So the first thing you have to kind of wrap your head around is that PostCSS is not a templating language like Sass is. So this is how it works, right? So you have your style.css file, and that goes into a CSS parser, which creates kind of like an abstract syntax tree. Looks something like this. You got your CSS rule, declarations, selectors, and so on. And then it stringifies that back to a new CSS file. And that is how PostCSS works out of the blue. So it does nothing, right? It just opens up some weird tree and stringifies that back to a new CSS file. So the key component in PostCSS is the JavaScript plugin. So remember what I said about, you know, it transforming CSS with JavaScript plugins. Here's where the key component is. So so the JavaScript plugins. So the abstract syntax tree is made of JSON. So what you can do with JSON is manipulate it with JavaScript. So it can delete nodes, it can add nodes, and do a bunch of stuff to this tree. And that makes the tree different, and it compiles a new CSS file. So the timeline again, so you have your CSS file, it goes through a CSS parser, goes through a bunch of JavaScript plugins that does something to that tree, stringifies that back to a new CSS file. So it still doesn't make sense, right? So the JavaScript plugins, what do they do? What are they used to? So let me tell you about the JavaScript plugins, right? So all the JavaScript plugins are based on NPM, the Node Package Manager. So yeah, let me give you some examples of PostCSS plugins. So right, here's a plugin that lets you have variables in your CSS file, right? And that's good enough for some people. You don't want to have Sass to do all these crazy things. You just want to have variables in your CSS file. And also, it's just made of 74 lines of JavaScript code, which is not very much. Here's one, nested, lets you nest in your CSS file. Also good, and a lot of people are doing that. PostCSS knowledge just minifies your CSS. Yeah, PostCSS focus. Whenever you state on Hoover element, it will add focus to it as well, which a lot of developers seems to forget, which is an important thing. So yeah, auto prefix are a big thing as well. So it will vendor prefix in all your web browser needs for everything that you need. And yeah, here's a funny one, Swedish styles. You get to write your CSS in Swedish. It translates to CSS, which is pretty funny. But it's useless, right? But it's funny. So CSS Next lets you write CSS4 features, which is kind of nice. And yeah, style guide generator lets you just generate a style guide from your CSS file, which is pretty big. And yeah, SVG fragments. I mean, there's a bunch of them, and there's so many plugins, you know. So yeah, you're probably thinking, why PostCSS? I'm good with Sass. Sass is awesome. I can do all these things in Sass. But what's, it's getting very popular. PostCSS. Google is using it. WordPress is using it. So that's a good thing. And looking at the graphs, PostCSS is just booming away. Everyone is using it. If you heard of Bootstrap or Server Foundation, two big frameworks, they're all very excited for PostCSS, trying to implement it to their new versions. And yeah, it's very easy to integrate PostCSS to one of your build tools, and I know there's a command line for PostCSS as well. So it's very easy, it's just a few lines of code written to get it working. And what a lot of people think as well is that it doesn't have to be a replacement for Sass or Less or whatever. You can still compile your Sass and Less to CSS and then do a bunch of stuff with PostCSS to really get a optimized CSS file, which is pretty nice, because you can't go home and replace all your Sass project with PostCSS. That would take a while. So you can start off like that, which is pretty nice. So what I really like about PostCSS is that you'll get to have control. You can add the plugins you'll need. You don't have to rely on your, because I work in a team with a lot of front-end developers, and I don't like the front-end developers to kind of use mixins and extends and stuff like that. So I can restrict that and not add those plugins in, which is kind of nice. So, so yeah, performance is a big deal. I mean, PostCSS is super fast. I mean, looking at Sass, they tried making Sass faster with libsass. It didn't work. So yeah, it's really fast. And also, it's super easy to make your own plugin. I made mine. It took me 15 lines of JavaScript code, and I was good to go. And yeah, there's a bunch of plugins, right? Everyone is writing plugins. So there's a website called postcss.parts where you can just browse a lot of plugins, and I think they're all registered on NPM as well, so you can go and check that out. So right, yeah, funny thing before I wrap this up, Audrey Sicknick, the creator of PostCSS, every year he sends like Christmas cards to everyone who has created a PostCSS plugin. So in 2014, it wasn't too many, but now there's a lot of them. So there's a lot of Christmas cards. So yeah, he's really awesome. He really takes care of the community and really wants PostCSS to get them going. So yeah, so don't take my word for this. Go ahead and try it. It's on CodePen, and you can just and I created a GitHub repository for PostCSS as well. So you can just go ahead and check that out if you're interested in it. And that's it for me. Cool. Questions?
Do you ever have plugins that rely on other plugins?
Sorry?
Do you ever have plugins for PostCSS that rely on other plugins, so then you get version dependencies and stuff like that?
I'm not sure. No, I don't think so, actually. There is no plugins that has to rely on another plugin. That's what's so great about it.
Okay, because it's one thing from NPM, it's just
yeah, I know. It's a big deal. Not one I'm aware of.
Okay.
Alright, cool. Oh, sorry.
Is anyone actually using the next CSS syntax yet? Or is it too early?
It's a little bit too early.
Yeah.
But funny thing is that there was a Chinese company, and in China there's a lot of users on Internet Explorer 5 and 4, or like 5 and 6, and they use the CSX2 syntax. So there's a plugin that converts your CSS3 into CSS2. So that's pretty nice. But no, I don't think a lot of people are using CSS4 yet. Cool. That's it for me. Thanks.
Right. Thanks, Marcus.
Thank you.
That's great.
All right, hi, welcome everyone. Thank you for coming this evening. It's lovely to have you all here. My name is Stanislav Khromov. I'm a WordPress developer at Aftonbladet. I've been to this group a lot of times. You've probably seen me around. I'm on various social media. So I work at Aftonbladet, which is part of the Schibsted Media Group, which is a Norwegian media conglomerate with about 7,000 employees. And here are some of the brands that we have that you might recognize. And we do all kinds of sites, of course, Aftonbladet. We do a lot of journalism. We also do some fashion, some viral content, and so on. But that's not what this talk is about. This talk is about WordPress, PHP 7, and kind of what that means for WordPress. So it's going to be about what I call the time to first byte dilemma. We're going to talk about the 1,000 millisecond time to glass barrier, static caching, PHP 7, PHP 7 for WordPress performance, and how you can actually get started with PHP 7 and WordPress today. So, has anyone heard of the term time to first byte? A couple of people. We can just read the definition here. Time to first byte is a measurement used as an indication of the responsiveness of a web server. So time to first byte measures the duration from the browser making a request to the first byte of the page being received by the client's browser. What it basically means is when somebody visits your site, the time it takes for WordPress to figure out that, oh hey, I should start loading, getting everything from the database, formatting the content, and so on, and then returning it. That's the time to first byte. So, fairly lengthy process. And if you're using the Chrome Dev tools, they actually tell you the time to first byte for every request, which you can see by I think you hover over the timeline to see the time to first byte. So, why does WordPress have a time to first byte problem? Well, it's because WordPress is, constantly worst in class when it comes to time to first byte as compared to other CMS systems. Unfortunate but true. So you can see here that they've compared a number of CMS systems, some proprietary, some non. So this is from a company, I don't remember the name, but there's links at the end of the presentation. And they took like a huge amount of sites that they operate and looked at the average time to first byte, which is the time to first byte. And as you can see, WordPress, self-hosted WordPress, is at the very end of the spectrum, unfortunately. So it is a problem. It takes a long time, and you can see that the average time was somewhere around 1.1 seconds. And here's a very popular graph that shows how users perceive time, basically, when they're using the computer. So we can see that 0 to 100 milliseconds, that feels like it's happening right now. 100 to 300 milliseconds feels a bit sluggish. 300 milliseconds to 1 second feels like something's happening, but at least I'm getting stuff done. And basically everything past 1 second means you're kind of zoning off. If the time takes longer than 1 second to respond, you're gonna be thinking about what you're gonna have for food later, or stuff like that. So that's what's called the 1,000 millisecond time to glass barrier. By glass, we mean the device, of course, that the user is using. So we want to hit that. We want to be able to serve stuff in 1,000 milliseconds. And that doesn't only include the time to first byte, that includes everything. We want the site to be ready. So it actually, WordPress has to do faster than 1,000 milliseconds so that we can get ready. So, and here's also stuff that makes it worse. Mobile connections. So if you're on 3G, the mobile connection itself can take as much as 600 milliseconds with all the different technical quirks. If you're on 4G, it takes still a couple hundred milliseconds, and this at the very bottom is what we're left with. So this is the generation time we need to be able to have to get that 1 second timeline that we're striving for. So we don't even have 1 second really, because of when your phone has to connect to your provider and has to route it to the data center where your site is, etc. So we have very little time, less than half a second really. And what makes WordPress slow? Well, I've seen hundreds of WordPress setups, and this is a performance graph. You can see here, this is just from a site I'm working on right now. We can see here that the blue part is PHP, and then we have some other various stuff like database, etc. But the most important thing is to see that, wow, PHP is a big part of WordPress execution. So that time to first bytes is impacted a lot by PHP being slow, or WordPress doing much, I don't know. So when you debug WordPress, like I started debugging, I was like, how can WordPress be so goddamn slow? I gotta figure this out. And so I put it in a program called Cache Grind, which shows you kind of like it's kind of like not a pie chart really, but kind of like a pie chart. Each of these little boxes correspond to some function being run, and the size of the boxes correspond to how long of time they take for the total request. You don't have to really understand what it does. Basically, what you can see is that WordPress consists of hundreds of tiny little functions, and you can't really make WordPress faster. You don't just flick a switch and then suddenly it goes faster. So you have to either do less, which you can't because there's a lot of stuff being done, or you have to do it faster at the PHP level. So that's where people go, oh no, it's not a problem, I'm going to use static caching. And has anyone here used static caching? Plugins like W3 Total Cache, BP Software Cache, etc. Yeah, everyone uses them because that's how you make the site fast. And it's true that you mask a little bit of the problem by doing that, but you still have problems like cache invalidation. How often should I throw out the cache? What about dynamic content? What if the user logs in? No cache for you. Low traffic sites. If you only have 5 visitors every day, then none of those visitors are going to get to the cache because the cache has been long expired. So you end up having to do a really, really long cache invalidation times. Anyway, it's a mess. It's not good. You end up serving uncached visits in a lot of cases. So it's not really a solution. It's more of trying to patch a very big problem. So ta-da! Enter PHP 7, a new beginning. So there are a lot of awesome language stuff that I'm not going to cover here, but there are great posts about new language features in PHP 7. But what I'm going to talk about is speed. They've basically rewritten the virtual machine that runs PHP, and it's so much faster. So here's an example graph. This is not WordPress. This is some benchmarking application, and you can see here that the The y-axis is time, so the bigger it is, the worse it is. So we have PHP 5.3 here, and we see it's like takes 2.5 seconds, and then it's like various versions of PHP, and then on the very right there we have PHP 7, and it takes like something like 600 milliseconds or something. So it's like what, 3 times faster? So that's the kind of increases we see. It's amazing. Like nothing like this has been done in the history of PHP ever. Like we thought there was like a big jump between 5.3 and 5.4, but that was nothing. Like look at this. This is amazing. So, okay, fine, but can I use it? And yeah, almost everything works. I mean, you can probably, I would say with 99% certainty that you'll be able to use most of your your theme and most of your plugins. So like there are a few plugins, like most of the plugins that either some do some like really funky stuff, like using, I don't even have an example, but just like plugins that do weird stuff sometimes don't work, and plugins that rely on extensions. So like Memcache, Redis, like a lot of the Peckle extensions aren't on PHP 7. Some of them compile and work, but like it's not big yet. But it's going to be. Like both Memcache and Redis are working to get their PHP 7 extension up and running, and you run it basically the same way you run PHP 5.5 point whatever. So it's easy. It's not really that hard to use PHP 7. So if we remember that graph that showed like that the average response time for WordPress was 1.1 second or something like that. Well, if everyone was running PHP 7, it'll be 500 milliseconds. And 500 milliseconds was, approximately our budget for returning a site that feels instant. So this is a big thing, because that means that the era of cashless WordPress is coming. That means that for the vast majority of sites, you won't even need a static cache. That hassle won't really be a problem anymore, because PHP 7 is so fast that you can get that instant experience anyway. And if you just put a little work into optimizing your site further, you can do dynamic sites and like all kinds of sites that couldn't rely on static page caching, and actually serve them in a way that feels fast to the user. So, what is the easiest way to try all of this? Well, there's a little combo. Like I'm not affiliated with any of these two companies, but it's a really, really nice combo. So DigitalOcean is a virtual service server provider, and Server Pilot is kind of like a management control panel. So if you've used shared hosting, it's kind of similar to that. So you put up a DigitalOcean server, you install Server Pilot on it, and then you get like this really nice web interface where you can add sites, configure them, choose which PHP version they should run, and so on. I'm just going to show a screenshot from that. So this is me running Server Pilot. I have it on this one server, and I'm inside on what they call app, which is really just website. So I have a website here with the domain s1.khromov.sc, and as you can see, I can pick whatever PHP version I want, which is great, and even support PHP 7, which is even greater. So you could literally just put up your site and then switch between the different versions and see if it works or not for you. Even better, they even have a one-click WordPress installer. If you just literally want to get up and running in 2 minutes, you can do that. You just add a new app, and then you tick the box to install WordPress. So, to sum it up, PHP 7 is out. Finally, it's been a long time in the making. WordPress benefits really heavily. I didn't specify a number because every site is different, but I would say at least twice as fast. Could be up to 3 times as fast as PHP 5, 5.5, 5.6. Almost everything works. I mean, just try it out. It's not a big deal. And yeah, you can try it out today. Here are the resources if you want to know more. Questions?
Does it use a lot less memory?
It does use a lot less memory. It's an excellent question. I'm not sure how it uses less memory, but it does use less memory.
Okay.
Any other questions? Clear as day. Excellent. Well, that's me. Thank you very much.
I think we're going to take a 5-minute break, and then we'll move on to our next speaker after that. So.
morning. Hi, my name is Guy. Who is not a developer? Oh. 1, 2, 3, 4. So are you mainly WordPress developers? No. So who is a developer? There's a little gap. You are mainly WordPress developers. I'm not going to be talking about development tonight. My talk is about an introduction to lead magnets, how to use your WordPress blog to grow your email list. How's the volume there, Dr. Khromov? So I run Wild Heart Media, which was founded in 2014 in Brighton. You can hear I'm not Swedish. Jag kommer från Sydafrika. I come from South Africa. And I live here in Stockholm with my wife. We're a content marketing agency, and we help businesses create the right content to grow their audience, their email list, and their customers. So that's what we do. How do we do this? And we do lots of research. The clients create their own content, and then we manage the rest, which is uploading to WordPress, search engine optimization, social media sharing, and email marketing. So we do quite a lot of stuff. Oh, and we expanded in 2015. That's my son. He's 8 weeks old. Han heter Cosmo. Han är väldigt duktig. Anyway, moving on. So I thought I'd just kind of introduce a little bit about WordPress and about some of the concepts I'm talking about. It started as an open source project in 2001, an open source blogging platform. Who would have known that it would be running 23% of the internet, which is just incredible. And there are over 40,000 plugins. I know that Christian's going to be talking about developing your own plugin in his next talk. So many of them are free. So that's kind of part of the open source thing. Blogging. Who knew blogging would have taken off? Eh? They thought it was a fad, like the internet. So the fantastic thing about blogging is it allowed, I mean, anyone who's been in the internet industry for 20 years will know that the turning point in terms of user-generated content was blogging. All of a sudden, individuals had an opportunity to add their voice at almost the same volume as companies, and that was really a big deal. I mean, in terms of marketing, it changed the world of marketing forever. Social media has also had a really big impact in that as well. So the thing about blogging is you've got to keep doing it, otherwise no one's going to keep coming back to your blog. So it forces people to write regularly. It's got a little bit of very simple technology behind it, which is an XML document, or the developers will be, yes, XML, which is an RSS feed, which is a real simple text feed, which allows developers to grab feeds off websites and aggregate the data. So all of a sudden you can share data. It's before social sharing, but you can share the content that people are blogging and pull them together in a really interesting way and curate that content. So that was a big deal. Am I shouting too much? Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Right, they're nodding at the back. So I'm definitely doing a good job on the volume. Cool. And why is blogging important from a search engine optimization point of view, from a business point of view, from a marketing point of view? Google loves fresh content. Google loves links even more. And what's significant about that is blogging makes use of categories. So if you organize your mind and your thinking, you begin to write on certain topics. And maybe you're writing about WordPress plugins, maybe you're writing about PostCSS. And most new traffic comes from search engines. So in order to grow your site and to continue to grow your business, if you run a digital business, then you need to play nicely with Google. And so here's a quick introduction of MailChimp. MailChimp is email marketing software. Now, the first presentation I did, I ran this by my mother. Not this presentation, this is some time ago. And my mother didn't know what email marketing was. So email marketing is a way of sending mass emails to people that feels personalized. So if you work in the industry, you just make these assumptions that everyone understands what you're talking about, and very few people understand what you're talking about, and it's dangerous to make the assumption that people understand what you're talking about. So MailChimp is a web app before they were called web apps back in 2001. Last year they had 3.5 million new users. So they're growing quite nicely. That's a nice number. And they have a free account which has 2,000 subscribers a month and 12,000 emails. So if you're not doing email marketing, or you have clients who have small email lists, this is a great place to start. The paid account includes marketing automation, and I'll come back to why marketing automation is important. But I need to explain what marketing automation is. I'll come back to that. So here's marketing automation software called Drip, and this is really new compared to 2001. We're looking at 2012. That's a useful bullet point, isn't it? Remember to talk about marketing automation. It says marketing automation software there. So marketing automation software allows you to create more complex interactions between people who engage with your email marketing and your website. So it's not just about people opening your blog posts or opening your emails. It's about the content they interact with, the content that they download, the content, the pages that they visit, custom events that happen on your site using JavaScript. It's got to do with e-commerce transactions, the number of purchases people have made, how do you reward people who've spent a certain amount of money. All of this happens using software like Drip. GetDrip.com is their domain name, and it integrates with services like let's see, what does it integrate with? Tons of services, and my mind goes blank when I say it integrates with. So we have a WordPress integration for starters, seeing as this is a WordPress meetup. What's a lead magnet? So the title of my presentation is Lead Magnets. So it's a technique, it's a marketing technique, and basically what happened is it's not so new, but the technology is new, and the marketing people like to give things a really cool name. So everyone gets really excited about this new thing. But basically it's giving away content in its most simplest form. But it's a way of incentivizing visitors to your website to subscribe to your blog. And what you need to do is give away high value content in exchange for a name and email address. So it's a non-financial transaction to start with. So, any questions on lead magnets? Good, okay. So why email? So email, depending on which websites you go to, you can see that email is either 6, 10, 3 times more effective than social media when it comes to converting visitors into customers. So of course there are exceptions to this. There are exceptions to every example that I would give you. But the thing to note about email is it's not so sexy. It's got a bad reputation because we've all received email that we didn't ask for, and that leaves us with a bad feeling. And we're all hitting that spam button in Gmail going, I did not subscribe to that, I did not subscribe to that. So you have power to do a lot of damage with email marketing, but the engagement levels are like phenomenal. So it's really important. If you're interested in building a digital business, you absolutely have to use email marketing. I get people coming to me going, hey, I want to do some social media strategy. And I go, are you doing email marketing? They go, no, I want to do social media. They've heard about social media and it's cool. Everyone wants to do social media. But the stuff, we've got to start at the beginning. And the beginning is email marketing. And that's whether you run a personal blog and you want people reading your content and engaging with you. It's about community building. It's not necessarily all about trying to sell products. You don't necessarily have to have a product to sell people in order to be using email marketing. If you want to build any audience, I recommend blogging and email marketing working together really tightly. It's a great way to build loyalty. You can send people emails based on the emails that they've opened. You can see what content they're engaging with and send them more relevant content on that particular topic. So it's really good. And with email marketing comes this new fancy thing called marketing automation, which is all the rage, so they say. Who's heard of marketing automation in this room? Good, excellent. That's awesome. So I'm going to take you through a very quick 5 steps as to how you go about creating a great lead magnet. So the first step is to pick a topic, and we've written a blog post on our website which goes into each one of these 5 points in a lot more detail. So you need to think about who your audience is. If you've got a web design background, you might be using something like personas. If you're from an information architecture or UX background, you're thinking about user scenarios, you're thinking about personas, user journeys. These are all tools that we use to profile our customers to understand their behavior better. So think of something that you know the people will like, that you're writing about. That's your subject. Next, you need to sit down and write the blog post. So, and don't forget to add your SEO metadata to that, your images, your headings, your crosslinks, all of the best practices around creating good blog posts. One tip about creating a blog post: your headline is the most important part of the blog post, because if your headline is not interesting enough for people to read the next sentence, you're going to lose them. Stanislav was talking about this milliseconds. It was such a fast talk, I couldn't catch the milliseconds, but the point is about distraction, how people struggle to concentrate, how our focus and attention is divided between millions of little things, how we're multitasking with dozens of apps open. I know developers they've got Spotify, they're listening to this, they've got 5 or 6 different apps open, they're having a chat, they're using Slack, they're using project management software. You're multitasking all the time, you're having about 5 conversations, and you're trying to work, and you're listening to Led Zeppelin. That's probably just me, but so there you go. That's just a tip on creating blog posts. Step 3: decide what to give away. So you've created a great piece of content. What is something that complements that content that is going to resonate with your audience? So there's quite a lot of thinking and planning that you have to do here about how to get these 2 pieces of content working well together. So again, you need to choose something that adds value to your blog post. Step 4: create the lead magnet. So you've decided what it is, now you need to make it. Is it a video? Is it a PDF? Is it a checklist? Is it a template? There are dozens of different formats that you could deliver content in. What content does your audience really engage with? Do they have time to watch a 10-minute video? Maybe not. Maybe it's just a checklist. You've got to keep thinking about your users. Step 5: give it away. Give it away, give it away, give it away now. That is a Red Hot Chili Peppers song from the Anyone remember the Chili Peppers? Yes. Bra jobbat. Good. So, giving it away and giving, the internet is basically built on free technology. Apache, open source. Linux, open source. PHP, open source. MySQL, open source. Apple is built, the Apple operating system is built on Linux, so they made their money off free software. The world expects to be given something, and you've got to give before you receive. So that's the plan. So we use a plugin to simplify the part of the process, and it saves you loads of time. So one last tip: share it. So you created your great content, you've got your lead magnet there, you know it's red hot, you've got 5 people following you on Twitter. Put it out there. Put it out there on Facebook, LinkedIn. Again, choose a social media channel where your audience hangs out, and that's really important as well. So, what's next? So if you go to our blog, I should really offer you a lead magnet, shouldn't I? I should. Okay, so what about your lead magnet? When you sign up to our blog, you're going to get a video tutorial showing you 2 different ways to add a lead magnet sign-up form to your blog. So we're looking at using Gravity Forms, which is a very popular form plugin, and we're also using a new plugin called Content Upgrades. Now, both of these are paid-for plugins. I don't work for them. I'm a paying customer. I always recommend to my clients this software, so I'm getting no kickbacks, just just so you know. And I reached out to Brian Castle, who runs Audience Ops, which is the company in the States that actually makes the Content Upgrades plugin. And they're going to give you 20% off if you buy their plugin, which is very nice of them, very generous. And that offer lasts until the end of January. So you've got about 2 weeks to make up your mind on that. Price-wise, I think it's $60 or something like that. It's not massively important. And if you want to know whether it's actually worth getting that, you can see me talk you through the whole process of adding the sign-up form into your WordPress blog. So that is me, Tack. Tack själv. Inga frågor.
I have a question.
Yes.
So you said that email is the way to kind of get leads and stuff like that. But you also mentioned social media. That
Of
a lot
course.
of people want to use it.
Yeah.
So what kind of, in short words, social media strategy would you kind of advise on?
So to bounce it back at you, because that's the question nearly every client I get comes to me. What's my social media strategy? So my response to that is, what are your goals? What do you want to achieve? Social media and email marketing are tools that you use to meet business objectives. Okay, and I'm putting it in very sort of, I'm not using very kind of community language here. I'm using quite sort of business, but the same thing applies for community. So what's your goal? Do you have a goal? No? It's a great
Few
question.
companies do, I think.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, because then it makes them think about, okay, so what's more important to us? And then that starts a whole another conversation, you know. So, yeah, it's a good question.
I have a comment, not a question,
Ah,
about MailChimp.
MailChimp.
Yeah.
You've used MailChimp?
I use it, yes.
Cool.
And I used the free account for about 2 days or so. And it's so great that I decided I wanted to pay, because you cannot use that for free. And you get one feature that you cannot get if you have the free account.
Proceed.
It's a joy to be one of their customers, even if you don't pay. They are absolutely amazing to be in contact with. So MailChimp, if I were to work somewhere else, I would like to work there.
Yeah. And you know that they employ like over 100 people. They're in terms of like branding, Brandson. MailChimp as a brand, they've got the chimp,
Yeah.
Freddy von Chimpenheimer, they call him. That's actually his name, Freddy von Chimpenheimer. They sent me a hat,
Yeah,
a handmade hat.
too. Yes.
So it's like, and the way that the support and the customer services team respond to free customers is phenomenal.
Yeah.
They've got a
And Ben Chestnut, who founded, he writes interesting blog posts
Precis.
about different topics.
Yeah.
Very recommendable.
It's great for small businesses with email marketing. You obviously, there are loads of paid accounts and you can scale up, and it's interesting that you converted so quickly to a paid account.
It's amazing.
So cool.
And it works.
It works and you can use it.
Yes.
Yeah. That's great. Cool. Any other frågor? I'm switching. Tack. Nej? Tack så mycket.
Tack.
Oh. There's the mask. Where are we? So big. And I will be sharing the presentation with the group and putting it on SlideShare. Just
And we'll hand it over to Christian.
Yeah, thank you. Really great presentation so far, so the expectations are, I guess, pretty high for me now. Just a very quick introduction about myself, because I'm actually going to talk about this guy. I'm Christian. I'm here today as kind of a representative of a plugin called Your Marketing Guy. And I want to explain a bit why we're doing what we're doing. But I'm coming to that really totally at the end to just see a quick screenshot of what our plugin is really doing. But now I really want to present Johan to you. I think many of you know Johan. I've also got to know a few Johans in here already. Johan is in his 50s. He runs a small business. He was not born with an iPad, and he didn't grow up playing apps that are teaching him how to develop. And he was never really in that internet thing. So we maybe wouldn't call him a digital native. He really knows absolutely nothing about the internet. But he understands, in the meanwhile, that in order to get his small business running and to keep him away from new offline and online competition, he also needs to get online. He needs to have a good website. So he has some hard times right now, even though he was before on a beautiful vacation with his snowshoes. But he just needs to, if he would just have a good website, then he believes everything would be so much easier for him. But he knows, hey, there's WordPress, He can do a little bit of Googling, so he finds out it's a cool tool, and maybe some of his friends have talked about it, that it's such an easy platform for everyone to just get your own website running, either self-hosted or even hosted by WordPress. So, honestly, how difficult can it be to get a good website up and running, right? Well, it takes him maybe just a few hours or a couple of days, depending on how much time he has, and maybe Johan's website looks like that. A start page where there's immediately an error saying there are no results found because the search plugin was maybe somehow misused. Even though everything kind of looks nice, the rest. He has a good navigation bar. He even apparently seems to plan to have a blog post with some recent comments and archives and categories. We heard before from Guy how important it is to have categories. But he doesn't have any. So it's just like, he's done, he's maybe stuck at this point. Or maybe his website looks like that. And you were talking just right now about newsletters, so it's great that we're here. He heard maybe that this is an amazing strategy. I need to put up a newsletter. But well, when we look at it, if this would be his start page, saying nothing found, it seems there is an error somewhere, and then immediately he uses a plugin because he heard somebody somewhere he should really use newsletters, puts this up. Well, how many people are actually not going to press this X, but the X up here in the browser to leave his website right away again? Or maybe his page looks like that. He has a form from the 90s for people to fill out to contact him. His Facebook page here, a Google translator to actually translate his page into other languages with Google Translate. Well, we all know it's nice if we just want to understand the context, but Google Translate is not really the place to really properly translate a website. Then some advertising about some weird mobile apps or games, even though we have some common brands here, but it kind of looks a little bit creepy. And then even a survey on how satisfied are you with our website. So most probably he will be like in the position where he's like, I don't feel that anything comes back to me from all the effort I've put into the website, because who's honestly going to use these kind of examples of websites? Either way, he knows he has to continue because it's so important. And he also heard from other people, or maybe found some common articles that are saying, I need to do SEO. Because if I don't do SEO, nobody will ever find me in Google. So he knows already that there are plugins and that WordPress is really strong with the plugins. So he goes into hopefully a good plugin, maybe like this one, yeah? But he is new to all of this. So it's like rewriting titles. I don't know if I should do that or not. And capitalizing, is this important, or should I put the check mark here or not? And why the hell are we talking about percentages and with underscores? And what is even this kind of a character? What does all of this mean? And if we're just looking here on the right side, we see the scroll bar is kind of far away from the bottom, right? So he has lots of things to do. But because it's important for him and he wants to get his business better and he wants to keep the competition out, he goes through it, he makes everything to his best knowledge. Next step, page speed. Beautiful presentation before. So I hope in the future PHP 7 will really solve all these issues. And Johan doesn't have to go into this, for him, Chinese platform, because what the hell is Minify? And what is a page cache, database cache, object cache, browser cache? What are user agent groups? And what am I supposed to do with them? What are referral groups? And what does actually CDN stand for? He has never heard of this in his entire life before. But somebody told him, and everywhere it's written, you need to use a plugin, one of these amazing plugins with good ratings and lots of users, to get your page fast. Now today we've actually learned from Stanislav that this will not help him anyway. But he's still gonna do it because he believes he needs to do it in order to have a fast website. So again, most probably he's gonna do it. But let's take a step back and kind of make a reality check at this point. What we've seen so far is that, and also we've seen in our plugin, that automatically published test pages and posts remain. So visitors to websites are going to read stuff like lorem ipsum, this is a test page, or this is how a post with a featured image looks like. We've seen this, we really see these examples, and lots of them. Then there's a huge room for improvements on readability of pages and posts. Guy talked a little about it. There's like so much content out right now. So you really need to know how to play the game in order to succeed. But we've just seen 3 examples, and I didn't just take them from a Google search. I can say that these are examples that I've seen people who are interested in our plugin. So this is still happening today. This is not 1990 examples. Even big websites, like the first one we've seen, there was even an online shop on that website. But they are obviously in the need for help, because they make these obvious mistakes, and they will have a hard time succeeding and making their website or turning their website into something profitable for them. And then a little other fancy statistic here maybe is that WordPress, people that are new to WordPress with their websites just recently published, they don't even come back to WordPress every day and make changes and optimize. If we're lucky, they come back every 3rd day. But they should come every day to change their website and to optimize it, because it's a game where you really, really need to be active. So we need to change that, make it easier for them. So if we have another look at Johan's reality, he is right now at the state where he says, well, this is taking so much time, it looks obviously horrible, and my bank account remains empty. But then it's like, yeah, this is it. I'm just going to Google like a pro, like all of we would do. Well, let's face it, if you Google how to make my website better, you're not only going to see 1 billion results to choose from, but even when you go on one of the pages on the first page, you will see something like that. Don't do this. This is how your website should be. Okay, fair enough. Let's go a little further. Successful webmasters think like that. What do my users want? What Guy said. I think everyone can maybe answer that question, even if you're new to the internet thing, right? Then how can I make something better? Gets a little difficult to answer. We've seen not even everyone has goals of what they want to do, so it usually should be a conversation you have with a specialist. But Johan needs to have this conversation with himself. Then I will work on my website until I know for a fact that my website is better than others in my field. Well, honestly, how do you know that your website is better if you have not even a clue that Google Analytics exists, or how to look at data properly to identify if a bounce rate of 90% is something positive or something negative? How do you know that you are building a good website if you're missing all that background knowledge that most of us have? Or I will look at some of my other web pages today and make a list of things I can do better. Well, Johan that hasn't made a website before. So this website is maybe going to help him up to those 2 points. Then he gets stuck, and he still doesn't know how to implement it and how to get from this, whatever it represents, to this. So back to Johan's reality, it's like, fine, Google doesn't help me, but somebody must know all this stuff, and I can just ask them, I can just hire them. And how much can it cost, right? How much can it cost to call somebody to fix my website? Well, it could be something like that. At the end of 2015, an average internet consultant would cost you around £500 per hour. Fine for some of us, if you want to get expert knowledge in, not fine for Johan. Before he was saying that his bank account remains empty. So he doesn't get anywhere with this. Which basically means that, Johan is not alone with this. So it's not just a person I've made up. Again, Guy said it before. It's like you gave me a lot of amazing points to follow up on. It's great. There are around 75 million websites depending on WordPress, which means I have here 19%, you said 22, so maybe it's 22. Yeah, 22% of all websites use WordPress, and it's most popular with business websites, not only bloggers. And out of these 75 million people, not everyone can be a developer, to be very realistic. A big amount of these people must be people like Johan, who have absolutely no idea of how to set up good SEO, of how to make a page speed better, and how to actually understand if the website works or not. Not only by looking at the bank account, if there's some money coming in or not. So, Johan is in kind of a really bad cycle for himself, because he knows he needs a good website. And it's like, okay, let's try WordPress. Seems fairly easy, everyone is using it. And after all, how hard can it really be if 75 million people are anyway having a WordPress website? Then it kind of comes to the state, and well, maybe I should Google how to really do it. Or I would better get a consultant, because Google doesn't really give me the results I'm looking for. Well, at the end, most probably he's just in the mood of saying, screw this. But he still needs a good website, right? So kind of a really, really bad dilemma he's in. And we should really be able to break this cycle and build plugins that are for people like Johan, that give him a hand, not where he has to go through all kinds of settings, that he doesn't even understand what a cache or what CDN or whatever is, or give him a hand of why not to show a pop-up of a newsletter when you haven't even delivered value to somebody, or how to ensure that he has a call to action, how to ensure that he has a way to understand Google Analytics data, so not setting it up for him, and then making him understand what he needs to do better. And not only have plugins that are from developers for developers, but really creating a movement of getting more of these 40,000 plugins at another 10,000, but only make them truly for people like Johan, so they can be successful in all the things that we know. And well, one of the examples is the Your Marketing Guy plugin. What we are doing is we're giving you a personalized tip every day. And it's not a generic tip. This is why we call it personalized. We're really looking at your website, analyzing what we believe, according to our expert knowledge, what you should do better. We prioritize it based on what is the business value for you. Yeah, we're not telling you maybe you improve your footer. We do that when everything else is perfect. And this way we hope and we believe that we can actually help people like Johan still doing it themselves, but giving them exactly the kind of hand that they need in order to be successful themselves and not spend 5 hours of Googling and buying books that are very generic and maybe even hiring somebody for £500 an hour. So if any one of you wants to be part of this, really please talk to me, or create your own plugin when you have an idea, maybe on how to easily implement PHP 7, or on your end on how to really write amazing content. I really wish we can create a little movement and give Johans, all these Johans out there, a good hand in getting a good website out. So if you want to talk to me, meet me where the food is. Thank you. Are there any questions? Any questions?
How many unique tips would you say that you can provide?
The database of tips can basically be infinitive. So what we really have. Reality is that there are already some, let's say, advanced websites using our plugin that are sometimes running out of tips. Meaning, we really have to do a better job also on our end to provide more and more and more tips. But on the websites we've seen before, I mean, it kind of never ends with the amount of tips as long as they don't also change their content. And there, maybe just one more sentence to the answer, there are a lot of fields we can give tips in. We're not all in all these fields present yet, but you know, it starts with maybe content writing. So I'm going to talk to Guy actually to give me all his expert tips so I can implement them in my product.
Jag är jättehungrig.
We talk where the food is. And then you can move on to like how to do proper SEO, you know, really step by step, and then page speed, and then, you know, other really nice expert fields. Maybe you can jump into social media marketing and connect things to Facebook. So there's a lot of potential of what to do. Yeah?
Can you clarify, is this a plugin you're making for free, or is this like a business you run, or I don't really get this? I mean,
So you can actually get it in the WordPress store. It's for free. There's no paid version of it yet. We have some in plan for a version 2.0, but we really believe that we should provide our knowledge for free to everyone else. And somebody said it before. I think it was again you, Guy. You were saying first you give something, and then you get something in return. And that's also a little bit our belief. First of all, we want to give the free access to what we know and how we would maybe analyze your page if we would be talking to you one by one. Yeah?
How do you decide what tips to give different site owners or businesses?
So the idea is basically that we try to analyze the state of your website, your business. Where are you at what level? Are you really on the entry level? And we start helping you with how to actually get structure in your website, making nice content, how it should look good. But if all of this is already well done, then we can jump into some SEO tips, for example. So it's a little bit, you know, trying to see what status is the website at, and then deciding what's important for that person. Yeah. Good. Then thank you. Just need my beer back.
So we are going to finish by 8 o'clock, and we are doing a lightning round tonight, so congratulations to us. But well, I guess I'm in the minority. I'm not a developer. I used to work for a web agency for 5 years doing consulting on usability, design, project management, helped do all the functional specs for many content management systems that we had in-house. And what I'm going to talk about today, I almost feel like it's an intervention for me. Maybe the theme should be like, your hobby website sucks, what I figured out. But when I moved to Sweden in 2008, lots of what I was focusing on was SEO. So I was targeting like some keywords that I wanted to rank first for in the US and in Sweden. So I started developing and putting up some WordPress sites and linking them all up and building little hubs and things. One of the websites I started working on, I think I launched in 2010. I think it was WordPress 3.1, if I remember correctly. Was about mixed martial arts, people fighting. And I just wrote was kind of odd hobby site, but it was in English, and it was just about what was going on around in Sweden. And you know, I used to get like 10 people a day or 8 people a day, and I just started writing on this and used it as a blogging tool and to help me with my marketing and SEO. And then, I mean, today I get, I don't know, like 1,000 people a day or something like that. And it looks nice. I thought it looked nice. And this is what it looked like, I think, Saturday. And then I realized I have to give this presentation, which I didn't think I was going to have to do because I thought we were going to run long, so I was going to cut myself out. I even added Christian in, hoping he'd take up some more time. So the cool thing is my topic was going to be how to make your WordPress site faster from a non-developer's perspective. So I tried to do that. And what I used as a guide, we were talking about giving things away for a free guy. Eric, I think he's spoken in 2 out of our first 3 WordPress meetups. Owns this company, runs this company, Burnhold Media, and he had a free giveaway. Get your WordPress website loading under 500 milliseconds, half a second in 14 days. I made it to step 1, and I just wanted to share, maybe step 2. So I'm a couple days into it. So this forced me to actually do something, and I want to share my results, and people are already giving me feedback when I give them tidbits about what was happening. So I think I was preparing for a previous meetup. I was going to try to do this, and I ran this through tools at Pingdom, tools.pingdom.com. Load time, 4 seconds. Is that good?
It's not good.
It's not good. I didn't think that was good. And I had 146 requests that I was making. So this is a little summary that Eric's document said you should do at the beginning just to get a baseline. And then my page size was 3.5 megs. Wow. How's that?
It's not good.
It's not good. So the website looked nice, and I have photographers that all the pictures that we have on our website, they're original photography, so it's kind of like, let's be precious with the photographers. I didn't want to compress anything, and you know, everything's high resolution in here, and the page is, you know, as tall as I am. So I just tried to figure out, you know, so I used the Pingdom tool as the first step, and then, you know, I got this list of why it was taking 5 or 4 seconds in some cases. And I just found so much crazy stuff. You know, it's loading things that aren't even on that, you can't even see on that page. And all these old tools I had from like 3 years ago with plugins that don't even exist anymore. There's just all sorts of garbage in my code. And lots of images, and I had what did I have? I had like a Facebook face pile, an Instagram feed, Twitter feed. I'm pulling files for each one of these tabs. So I'm doing a lot of stuff. So yesterday, I was just kind of going through, just using this tool and identifying some of the images, the image sizes, and the page speed. I think I brought down my server twice when I was like installing and taking out all these. I had like 12 plugins I wasn't using. So I think this showed my site went down a couple times. So I think my next step, I'm going to look at my server and what's happening. But the one thing I was able to do, and this is pingdom.com, my page size, I think eventually I got it down. So from 3.8 megs, this is a start. We got it down to 2.7 megs. And then the request that I was making, I think it was up to 160 2 days ago, and I got it down to 130. So I think I just have a couple more slides. This isn't going to be lightning fast, but I wanted to show just my progress, and I hope maybe each WordPress meetup I can come back and give a little update here and see how I'm doing. But at least I want to show and what I've done so far. And this was mostly this January 10th. Yeah, so this is just over this weekend. I think this is when I first started, but I didn't do anything. And I guess I added some requests because everyone loved the Instagram, our Instagram account. So then I'm like, oh, let's put those on the homepage, and it pulls in all these images, and it takes like another second or half a second to do that. So I even started making progress over the weekend, and I think I added more requests. I think that's what I added in between here, some Instagram free plugin. But just by doing some of the cleanup of some of the images that I saw and compressing them on some of the recommendation sizes, actually this morning I was able to get it down to 134 requests. And this varies, I guess, maybe by, I don't know, the amount of people visiting the site or demands on the server. But at least one time I did get it under 2 seconds within 2 days of just hacking on my site without moving it to another server, without getting anyone else involved, just cleaning up my plugins, compressing images, and identifying, kicking out some of the free plugins like the Instagram plugin that I had, and then I used some newer code for a Facebook plugin. So I got my page size down a little bit, which I'm going to work on. So my goal is maybe next time, when PHP 7's already out, we'll see. But at least from the start of where I was in the summer and even a few days ago, in some instances I've been able to cut down my load time in half. That's my progress so far. What would people recommend I do next? Maybe I'll take a few ideas and I'll go try them. You had a plugin. Or did you?
P3 Profiler. It's made by GoDaddy, which is a terrible hosting company.
Yeah, that really sounds terrible.
But they've got this nice lightweight plugin. Basically, it looks at the WordPress core load time. It's got a number of HTTP requests, database requests, and it shows you breakdown in a nice graphical chart of all of your plugins and how long they're taking to load and how the resources.
Okay.
It's a nice start.
Okay, I'll check that out. Anyone else have
I
any?
think. Oh,
Yeah.
Take it on. Oh, okay. I think a great tip could be to look into the CDN network that you can use, perhaps Cloudflare or. Yeah. There are a lot of services that provides your images more faster and in parallel sequences, so the browser can just fetch them up, because you have like 0 in parallel downloads and 0 in minimizing and so on. So you can use external services to get your page more fast.
Great. I'll do it. Yeah.
Why does the performance grade go down the faster your site's getting? Normally it should be going up.
Yeah, how do they frame that?
62.
It should be getting up to like
it is.
90 or.
How does it phrase that? What's the phrase? Did you have Pingdom?
Oh, it's like 2,000 metrics. It's really hard.
Okay, but what's the main? How does it frame the main score here? What does it say?
Yeah.
Are you
Performance grade. Yeah. You have the total performance grade of every parameter.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. Oh, your website is faster than
So I can take a look.
80% of all tested websites.
I can take a look in the history.
48,
Perhaps
41.
give me a
The performance should go up.
I'm using the same tool from time to time, and I have the same. I call it bug. It's because for me it doesn't really make sense. I have the same issue when I do the tests. It gets faster and page size is slower, but performance grade is sometimes decreasing, and then you're running again, and all of a sudden it's at 90 or so.
They just make you go back again.
Yeah. But I guess this is what I'm seeing popping up that I was getting happier with, is 80% of all websites, then is a 48, then is a 41. At least that score
and
makes
everyone gets it.
Makes sense. Yeah. So, don't know. I guess at least maybe these are better
Yeah.
metrics to look at for now. So I'll look at CDN and then I'll look at.
I mean, those are massive page sizes, and the CDN is going to dramatically
Yeah.
increase.
Dramatic.
Okay.
Particularly if you're using nice, large imagery,
Yeah.
and you don't want to compromise on the quality
No.
of your images.
Yeah, yeah.
The CDN is the way to go, for sure.
Okay. Great. Well, thanks everyone for tonight. Thanks for all the presenters, Guy, Christian, Stanislav, Marcus. It was a great event, and thanks to Brandson again for the space and the food and inviting us all here. And in the next couple months, we'll set up our next event. And thanks for the stream, guys.
Bye.